Welcome to the Just Design podcast with Justin here. Aloha, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. We're here with Sam Lister. I'll let Sam introduce himself.
What's up, Justin? Thanks for having me. I'm the founder of Blank Slate Media, and we help entrepreneurs document their legacy, creating a ton of online videos for social media.
Yeah. So let's rewind that a bit. You have all these great things going on now, but I know watching your journey and helping you through this journey, early on, you really tried out a bunch of different things, and kind of just explain, like, what are the things you try, what you know, or what you learned from those situations, and how that really propelled you and helped you in your current situation.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've tried a ton of different things in the past. Again, I'm fairly young. I'm 21 right now, but really got into entrepreneurship when I was about 17 years old, so kind of middle of high school. And I just started dabbling in really anything I could get my hands onto. So it was Forex trading for a little bit, cryptocurrency for a little bit in like 2017 when that was huge. Still is huge now, but kind of like got into the first bubble. And then like real estate a little bit. I was doing a little bit of like social media stuff, little social media management, done like finance stuff. I love investing in stocks and ETFs and mutual funds. So really an eclectic mix for being so young. I was really just dabbling into everything and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. So I really found throughout that process that there's no way that I can pick one thing and stick to it and have that be the end all be all. And that's my moneymaker in life. Especially being young, not knowing a lot of things, it comes down to how many things can you test. And obviously being young, living at home, being in high school, not having really any debt or expenses to my name, I definitely had that luxury to go out and test. And I was just working normal jobs that every 16, 17-year-old was working. I was just working at my local snow park in the winter and then baseball fields in summer, putting all that money into testing different ventures, and stumbled upon video in 2018, and then really went all in from there. So once I kind of like hopped on LinkedIn, started creating videos on there, just essentially documenting my story, telling people what I was trying to do, what I was trying to build. Kind of the video world started clicking together for me. And then from late 2018 to where we are now, I've just been trying and testing a bunch of different things in the video world, but really set on creation. So now we have a solid team overseas and really spread out over the world, helping from a video editing standpoint. So doing less in-person shooting than I was in the past, and being selective on in-person clients. But again, as we transition into an online Zoom-filled world, as we're talking right now, the ability to work remotely is now more important than ever. So definitely taking those pivots and transitions as they're thrown at us. So here we are.
Yeah, that's interesting too, like being a videographer and everything. You're saying that the in-person shoots are less and less, and you're trying to figure out more remote things. And it's like, I guess a lot of our listeners are probably going to be on that train where they're trying to figure out, how can I work out of a coffee shop? How can I work out of a hotel? Like, how can I live in 8 different locations throughout the year? So it's like figuring out that niche is pretty spectacular, and figuring out what you're passionate about. Because I know early on in my career, it's like I started going to school for accounting, and then I was like, nah, this is not for me. And then I switched it to business, and then I switched it to marketing, and then I got out into the real world after I graduated and worked for a couple of accounting places, and I was like, nah, this isn't for me. And then I finally learned how to do web design and like had a couple businesses in between there. So it's just like finding out what you want. And I think really truly what you're saying with like being young and like being able to be like, well, what happens if you fall flat in your face? What's the worst that's going to happen? You've got so much time to recuperate from it. And I know that my first business that I started a car wash in Milwaukee, and I had a friend who gave me a really good rental space. It was super cheap, but then I was like, man, I got to buy all this equipment, do all these things. And it was like, I don't really have the cash for this. And it's like, I don't want to ask my parents because then they're going to be involved with it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to take out a bunch of credit cards and max those out and see what happens. So, it's like, what was the worst that would happen? I filed bankruptcy when I'm 20, like whatever, right? You bounce back from it. So it's just interesting. And then that ended up being successful. So it's just, if you're passionate and you work hard enough, you can always make something successful, even if it goes down the drain. It's like, you can always pick it back up and make it successful. So I guess that kind of segues into the next question. Like, what would you really define as being successful? Because everybody has a different definition of that.
Yeah, I think it's super simple. Are you happy or not? And if the answer is yes, then don't change anything with your life. If the answer is no, then find out what's making you unhappy and fix that. I think people like to overcomplicate things. People like to look at every single cent in their bank account to say, okay, damn, I need 12 cents more than this person to feel successful. And success is intrinsic. One of my favorite like little splice of an interview is when Bob Marley was asked, "Are you rich?" And he flipped the question on the interviewer, asking, "How do you define rich? Am I rich as far as money in my bank and material possessions and cars and houses? No, but I'm fulfilled, and that's what makes me rich in my mind." So I love that. Kind of point of view, because I think everyone needs to hear it right now, especially in an entrepreneurial, capitalist-driven society, which I'm the first to support healthy capitalism and healthy entrepreneurship and stuff. But at the same time, a lot of people are getting wrapped up into what other people define success as, when in reality, success is intrinsic. So for me, it's, am I happy? Am I happy doing the things I'm doing with people around me? If the answer is yes, then I know I'm doing something right. If the answer is no, I need to switch and pivot some things and really shift that narrative to find out why, how can I almost get happy? But even asking myself that defeats my whole purpose of happiness comes from inside. So again, everyone goes through waves, but I think that's what I define as truly being successful, is being happy and content with your life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. And I think I also agree with the point where you have people that they define their success and their happiness from their job, and then they don't have anything outside of it that's making them happy. Like they have no hobbies, they have no passions outside of work. And I know that you really have been hitting that on the head recently, saying that like you went through all this, you were working super hard, and you're like, man, I wasn't snowboarding, I wasn't skateboarding, like I wasn't doing the things that made me happy. So like, can you kind of explain that balance and like why that's so important to have? Because it like replenishes you getting back into work. And I know that's kind of, everybody needs that. Everybody's battery gets drained and they need to be replenished.
Yeah, so many people get into entrepreneurship and think it's super cool to work 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. And they think that's sustainable, when in reality, just because Elon does it doesn't mean you need to do it. Chances are you're not building a rocket ship company and a mass transportation company and energy company. If you are, then prove me wrong. But for the 7 billion other people that aren't doing that, I think we're pushed such a narrative that hustle culture is the right thing to do and the only thing to do when you get into entrepreneurship and work 12, 13, 15-hour days every single day. And that's exactly what I did when I first got in. I worked around the clock. I woke up, worked, I ate sometimes, and then went to bed and did it all over again. And the relationship with myself suffered a lot. The relationship with my family, with loved ones around me, with my girlfriend at the time, everything. It was struggling, but it's dangerous because I was young and I still am young, and that's when your mind can kind of be manipulated a lot of the time and get the sense of, hey, this is the right thing to do. This is what I'm doing. So now, because I've kind of learned from my own mistakes, I try to take as much time off as possible. I try to go snowboarding as much as possible because that's what fuels me. That's what I love to do. I do love building businesses and entrepreneurship and creating content, but at the same time, I love snowboarding. I love ripping a snowboard and riding on a POW day and everything. So that's what I'm going to do. And when I can't do that, I know I'm doing something wrong, because that's what brings me true happiness. And then if I can't do that, what's the point of entrepreneurship? What's the point of the freedom that creates? And for me, that's what I love. So definitely taking time off, definitely resting my mind, body, and soul as much as possible nowadays.
Yeah, I think too, with like the whole pandemic, we've seen that it's much easier to just roll out of bed and then roll onto the computer and then stay on the computer all day long. And then all of a sudden look at the clock and be like, wow, I've been sitting here since 8 a.m. and it's 8 o'clock at night. And like, I don't even remember if I ate or did this or that, or it's like you get sucked into this vortex. So really taking that time to make sure that you're focusing on yourself and like setting a schedule. I know I've had to do this, and I've learned this from Richard, where it's like you have to set schedules where it's like maybe you even need to plan in, I need to take a sip of water, or I need to go eat, and like have that planned in your schedule where it's telling you to go do those things. Cause it's like sometimes I forget, like you jump down a hole and you're like, man, it's like been so much time and I haven't eaten or whatever. So it's like really taking care of yourself while you're working too is very important. I know that you've been doing videos on LinkedIn, on Instagram, all those things. Like, I know that you say and kind of explain that you don't really need a fancy tool to do those things. So it's like, how can somebody get started with that? Because I know that one thing might be more important. I'm not like kind of just wanted to ask this question while we're in this. Like shooting at an iPhone, is the microphone quality enough in that iPhone and the lighting quality enough to record those videos, or like would you suggest somebody being outside when they're recording it, inside? Like what works best for those sorts of things if somebody's just getting into this and starting out doing video recording?
Yeah, so it comes down to the intention of those videos. Are you trying to become a videographer and go into businesses and record videos for them and kind of dive into the cinematic world that you need? Bigger equipment, bigger cameras. Sure. If the answer is yes, then probably you need external things outside of just an iPhone. When you're first starting, iPhone, great. Any phone camera, great. Use what you have. But obviously, if you want to go down that path, you'll probably need to invest in some gear along the way. But talking about when you're first getting started with creating videos in general to build your brand, that's what I'll talk about. The videography and the business side of things is a little separate than your personal brand. Personal brand, start with what you have. I still record just plain iPhone videos all the time. Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, TikToks, all of that. We're seeing more and more of that content. So whether you have a phone, whether you have a laptop and you can record Zooms, that's really all you need to get started with creating videos. It really comes down to the message you want to share with the world. So dial in the message you want, dial in what you want to talk about, topics you want to cover, questions you want to answer around your topics. Maybe you're in, let's say, real estate, for example. You're a real estate agent. You want to create videos. Start talking about topics or things, lessons you've learned along the way. And you don't need anything for that. You just need your phone. You don't need AirPods. You don't need a mic or anything. Any new technology we have is 100 times better than what we had 10 years ago, 15 years ago. By far, obviously, the iPhone has only been out for what, give or take 15 years now, which is nuts. So yeah, all you need is a camera. I won't dive too deep into the videography side of things unless you want me to.
No, it's just kind of general overview. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start off just with your phone. Make sure you're not in a dark tunnel and people can see your face. That's just look up YouTube how to shoot a video on your phone, how to shoot a video on Zoom, and that's really all you need. You just need to be resourceful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great advice. So I guess going from videos in your iPhone, upgrading, doing higher quality videos, how did you get into public speaking? Because I know you've been at a couple of events like doing public speaking, because it's like that's like the whole next level thing where people want to get to, right? Or they don't want to get there, because it's like some people, if you look at the hierarchy of things that people are terrified of, more people are scared of public speaking than they are of death, which is kind of crazy to think about, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I would almost flip-flop. I public spoke before I created my very first video. So I
didn't know that.
Backwards. I not like from like a super heavy like business context, but I like emceed my school's pep rally. So that's speaking in front of 1,000 to 1,500 people or so. And it was just me and another person. We were kind of the head of that. And then like all like school projects in like high school and stuff. I loved speaking. I loved presenting. I was in a speech class and stuff. So loved giving debates, loved speaking. So I was super comfortable on stage and talking to people, which is definitely backwards to a lot of people from a video standpoint. But when it came to video, when I first tried, I was absolutely terrified. I was sitting in my bedroom completely alone. And just staring at my iPhone, and I had no idea what to say. It took me probably 14 or 15 attempts to mutter out a 1-minute video, and that was my first ever video in like April of 2018, and that's still on my Instagram. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see my very first video ever. It was awful, super cringy, but I'm forever gonna leave it up there. But yeah, that transition into, I guess, public speaking to video to back into public speaking and how they work together, they're definitely different. I thought I was going to crush video just because I was comfortable public speaking, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. And I've heard a lot of people that started with video. They thought they were going to crush public speaking, and it was also a disaster, I should say. So they're definitely unique. They're definitely different environments, because live you can't do retakes. If you're standing up in front of a crowd, you really need to be quick on your feet with that, because there's no can I do that speech again? Can I just rewind the past 15 seconds and cut this? No, you're in front of a live audience, so you get to feel that energy. You get to read the room and see how they're resonating with your message. So super cool, super different environment, a lot more energy when it comes to I guess just communicating and talking to people. But I don't know. If I had to pick one or the other, I would definitely still pick video, just because you can reach more people. But I do love speaking.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So I guess you've worked with a lot of big name people like Rick Ross, you've worked with Gary Vee, like Casey Adams, all those things. Like, how did you get involved with that? Like, how do you go from I've just started working in this field, and then you get a little traction, and then all of a sudden you're working with those sorts of people? Like, how did that all start happening and clicking?
Network, man. It all comes down to who you know. So Casey has been awesome. He's been a client for a while, and he's introduced us and to a bunch of people. And just through him, I know he's done videos with Rick Ross and Gary Vee and Maya Musk and a bunch of people. So we kind of get to tag along on that cool journey. We've also been connected with cool other names, Jesse Itzler and Dan Fleischman, and these people. But the reality is you can communicate your message and reach those people super easily through social media. If you kind of just pull a few strings and kind of wheeze your way in, to just ask around of your network. And I guess bringing it back. I know I was kind of skipping a little forward as I was trying to articulate this point. It comes down to building a network and providing more value to that other person than you are taking. So if you think you can't provide any value to someone else, ask them, hey, how can I help you? And I remember so many times when I was first getting into entrepreneurship and this whole startup ecosystem, specifically in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I currently live and where I'm from, I would take every single coffee meeting I could, every single Zoom call I could, simply to expand my network. And that was it. I had no intention. I wasn't selling anything. I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to connect people. And that's what I've always been solid at, is connecting different groups, connecting people. So after every single one of those meetings, I would ask, hey, who can I connect you to? What are you looking for? Who's a prospect that you're looking for? Any way I can help, I'm here. I don't have too many skills. I don't have a lot of money. I don't really have anything to offer besides I can try to make connections. And that's something that I've really held true to this day. And just through using those practices, I guess, as I start growing and scaling the business, I can just provide value in different unique ways. And that's really how I've been able to reach people like Casey, like Dan, like Jesse, and a bunch of other amazing entrepreneurs at that caliber. So it's just all about leading with value, offering your services for free if needed, really finding a way to make their lives easier and better in any capacity. And if you can do that, you're golden.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely really good advice. So I guess what are the next steps for you and your like business and ventures, and what does the future look like for you? Like, what is your goal? Because I know I've talked to some people and they're like, yeah, I want to hit $1 billion. I want to hit $1 trillion. Like their goals are crazy with money or whatever. Or it's like, I want to build another company or want to do this. So like, what do you see yourself doing in the future?
Yeah, I don't really have any set goals of, hey, I want to build $1 billion company as right now. That's not what I want to go to. I have no desire to build a publicly traded company and going that route right now. Things definitely might change in the future, but essentially I want to make an ecosystem of impact. I'm just super fascinated by giving people resources to implement into their lives to make their lives better in any capacity. And I think education is definitely the key ingredient in that change. So that'll definitely be kind of my next venture, is something in the education space, definitely hybrid of in-person, online, outside of simply growing my company right now, Blank Slate. So yeah, that's growing Blank Slate right now. I'm pretty much heads down. I'm not really taking on any other projects besides this till I get it to a certain scalable point, and then I'll start bringing on other ventures and testing out other things involved. But yeah, everything around education space. Outside of that, I don't like to make crazy 10, 15, 20-year plan just because no one knows what the world will look like in a decade, or even 1 year or 5 years. So I like to keep vision pretty tight. Obviously, I have other crazy big abstract goals. I want to build a city and build my own university and stuff, but that's definitely down the road a little bit. I heard it's a little capital intensive to build a city. From
Yeah, I bet.
It's definitely not the cheapest thing, but yeah, right now heads down, building Blank Slate, building the content company, and then outside of that, gonna dive into education next.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Is it Akon or something? He's building a city in Africa somewhere. Did you hear about that?
Yep, Akon City with a Akon coin. I can give his own cryptocurrency, which is
that's super cool, right?
Yeah, that's what I'd love to do. Kanye's going to do something similar in Wyoming. He has 1,000 acres plus out there, and he's kind of building his own just concept city of, hey, what does this next decade look like? These next 20, 30 years look like for civilization and humanity? I'm super fascinated in how fast technology can help us advance in life. So I definitely want to get into that space as much as possible.
Start buying up land on Mars and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. That's next.
It's funny. I saw a Groupon that said that they were selling acres of land on Mars for whatever amount of money, but it was like just a piece of paper. Like, I thought it was for real. I was like, for real, they're selling pieces of land on Mars already. Like, that's pretty cool. Just forward thinking that. So when Elon gets us out there and all that sort of stuff. So it's just, it's really fascinating whether the future is going to be here, it's going to be there. We're going to be interplanetary. Like, it's super crazy what they're talking about with all that stuff. So kind of to wrap things up, like if you could go back in time and tell yourself something when you were younger to like help your business career, help yourself personally, like make things happen more effectively or more positively, or whatever that would look like, what would you tell yourself? And it doesn't need to be one bit of advice. It could be 2 bits of advice, but like, what would you tell yourself? Like, what would that conversation look like?
Focus and move fast.
Yeah.
I got the move fast part, but my focus has been everywhere for the past 3-4 years outside of the past like 8 to 9 months. Again, as we started this podcast out, me explaining everything I've tried and tested in the past, I was doing all of those things pretty much at the same time. Again, I'm only talking about a 3 or 4 year period, so it's not like I've had the luxury of testing real estate for a year and then cryptocurrency for a year, then Forex for a year, and the list goes on. I've tested 6 or 7 different things. So I was doing a lot of that at once, and I just wasn't creating any momentum anywhere. My energy was spread way too thin. Was I working a ton of hours? Yep. Was I moving really fast? Yep. But I really had no focus. So my one main piece of advice was to still move with the same speed, day-to-day execution speed, but also focus on one thing at a time. If I only focused on real estate, or only on social media, or only on crypto, whatever that avenue is, or e-commerce, I would have grown much quicker, and I would have just went deeper on those subjects instead of spreading myself too thin.
Yeah. What do you feel about like focusing and then like hyper focusing even more, where it's like you do videography or you do editing and you only do it for like podcasters, you only do it for vloggers that have a certain amount of following or this or that, or you only focus on like contractor, like really niching it down? Like, how do you feel about that? Like
the more selective you can get, the better you are. I've tried to build a full agency where we handle everything from filming, editing, scripting, posting, and everything in between. And it's just super hard to scale that way. So right now we are only focusing on video editing. That is the one service we offer, and I just really want to nail that, and then really just into the kind of like individual entrepreneur and podcaster space and the content creator space. So outside of that, we're not targeting B2B too much. Obviously, a few of our entrepreneurs are business owners. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur. So obviously they have their business, but definitely working more on the personal side is what we like to do. So again, the faster you can hyper focus on the niche and area you want to target, the faster you'll grow. If you cast a super wide net and try 500 different things and your target market is everywhere, it's going to be super time consuming and expensive to grow those efforts. So again, focus as much as possible, niche down as much as possible, and just get hyper focused.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess anybody that's listening, if they wanted to do like some video editing service with you, how would they reach out to you? And like, what does that process look like, somebody working with you? Just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so we love working with, again, just other entrepreneurs, creators, podcasters, vloggers, YouTubers, you name it. Really, the process is you shoot me a DM on Insta and we can talk about it on there. But we essentially onboard you to our system and hook you up with your own editor or editing team, depending on kind of how many videos you want, and then we work with you to help edit your video. So you just send us a bunch of footage, we edit it, and then you post, and the cycle continues.
Super cool. So we'll leave a link down into the description into Sam's Instagram and his website and everything, so you can go and check out his company, Blank Slate. I know that you also have the social networking thing that you're trying to connect people with. Are you still working on that?
Kind of on the back end. I'm putting that on the back burner a little bit. I'll probably pick that up once, maybe at the end of the year. But really, I'm so heads down in building the company that took that on, scaled it, made awesome connections there. Kind of get what's the opposite of throttle? Pumping the brakes a little bit on that venture. So not really pushing that out too much right now. Just heads down on video editing company, and then just growing content.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. Anything closing that you want to say to any of our listeners?
Just do shit you love, and stop putting pressure on yourself. There's society already puts so much pressure on us individually, and it feels like life is a never-ending hamster wheel of looking for external validation for others, whether it's significant others or people online or friends, family, mom, dad, whatever it is. Like that pressure, a lot of it is self-imposed. Like, do shit that makes you happy. If you are happy, then you are good. Stop worrying. Life is long, and just do shit you love. So do shit you love. Stop putting pressure on yourself, and be happy. That's what I got.
On. That's awesome. Good advice, Sam. Thank you so much for being on. Mahalo. Aloha, everybody.